Hey guys, it's Timothy Fling. Welcome back to the Creative Cranium. We got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to take a look at understanding the modern collector. As most of you know, I'm a comic collector myself, and I follow most of the collectible fields. Let's try and learn a little bit more about this kind of customer. I'm going to start out by introducing my guest. Please say hello to Paul from AA Comics. Welcome, Paul. How you doing?
Oh, there I am. Hello.
Good to see you.
All right. Good seeing you as always, Tim.
Why don't we start out by, can you tell us real quick who you are, what your store is, and where you're from?
I am Paul. I am the owner of AA Comics and Cards. We are located in central Pennsylvania. We're near Hershey, PA. I'm in the heart of downtown Lebanon. We have a pretty large facility. We have 4,800 square feet featuring comics, cards, collectibles, toys, pops, all kinds of stuff.
All kind of cool stuff. That's a great story you got there, man. I look forward to hearing more about it. Want to introduce our next guest. Please welcome from Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys, Uncle Bob himself. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Real good to see you, man. So
Yeah,
same thing
here.
for you. Real quick, can you tell us who you are, where your store is, and kind of what you're mostly known for?
Yeah, I'm Bob Mastrella. My wife and I own Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys. I've been doing this for, I don't know how many years, quite a few years, buying and selling toys, at least 10 years or so. We're mostly vintage. We like vintage and retro toys, pop culture. You know, we have a store in Lemoyne, PA. It's just across the river from Harrisburg, 305 Herman Avenue in Lemoyne. And we've been there for 3 months now. So we're fairly new at the brick and mortar. You know, we used to do a lot of shows and online and that, you know, Whatnot and eBay and all that mess. But yeah, so now we went brick and mortar. That's what we're doing.
Well, man, congratulations on your
Thanks.
brick and mortar. I definitely look forward to hearing more about that. My next guest needs no introduction. He's Mr. Hustle himself in the collectible business. Henri, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great.
Man, thanks for coming on the show. We know each other a little bit, but for the viewers, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you're mostly known for?
So unlike these fine gentlemen here, I actually got my start self-publishing comics and going to conventions and selling my books at shows. Once COVID hit, I decided to start building out my reselling business. So I now buy and resell collections. I mostly work out of my basement, and I do all of my live streaming, sales shows through broadcast 3 times a week. And then I have a warehouse space where I store more stuff I buy, and I just keep buying up everything. And yeah, so
nice. The retail collectible business, that's a challenging business. I forget if I mentioned to you guys, I used to be a retail store owner myself, but the show's not about me. I want to hear about how you guys got your start. Let's jump over to Paul. Paul, what year did you start, and what motivated you to start your own store?
I started in the late 90s. I was working for the federal government. I can't tell you what I did or I'd have to kill you. So,
Post office, huh?
Yeah. And it was I was getting back into collecting, and I was going to a lot of local shows and stuff. And I thought, man, that'd be pretty cool to just, do some shows and have a lot of cool books behind and selling and stuff. So I had ginormous yard sales at my house where we'd have like literally 1,000 people showing up at our yard sale. So I started buying bulk boxes from our local comic store here, and he'd sell me a couple boxes each year, and then I'd sell some books really cheap. And then the next year I'd wait for the next yard sale and I'd buy a few more boxes, and just kept expanding. And then one year it rained. So then I couldn't do the yard sale. So I started doing the flea market. And then at the same time, the comic store was kind of going out of business. So I started buying all their back stock out. I bought pretty much everything out that they had, and I was starting to do flea markets. Following year, I started breaking into doing shows, local shows like at Philly. Timmy, you met Derek,
we cross paths fairly often.
he gave me my first break in doing a lot of shows, and because I was starting to do those shows, then I just started building up a repertoire and a reputation with a lot of the other dealers. We were all friends, and everybody was, helping out and stuff like that. And I was happy just being a weekend warrior for a long time. And then about 8-9 years ago, we, family kind of decided that we were going to try and do a store for my retirement from the post office. And so this was my retirement plan. And last year I retired, and we were just doing
Congrats.
the store to for me to segue into that and just go right over into doing the store. So we've been I did an indoor flea market for about a year before we found this location, and then this was the location that we decided on and found. And we have a pretty good gig going on here. As Tim, you've seen, it's like
it's a nice store.
Back area,
nice
my back area, I can load in and out to do other shows and stuff like that, and that kind of really makes it easier and doable to do. And I was doing a lot of shows, small shows, big shows, Baltimore Comic Con for a lot of years, Awesome Con when they first started out. And, we were doing a lot of big shows. And after a while, I learned how to do the shows. And where when I first started out, people were digging through boxes and looking for comics and stuff. And that changed after a few years with things like Walking Dead, Big Bang Theory, and where things were being a little more accepting for people to go to shows. So it was like a day at Disneyland or Hershey Park to go to a show, and they take the family, and now all of a sudden, kids want to buy Pokemon cards. I was selling Pokemon cards. So I would bring that stuff along, and then I would start doing well with that. So, one of my things is diversity. So,
yeah. So what year was it that was the store opened, the brick and mortar?
2016. That we opened at this location here. So the year before, I had a store in a weekend flea market that we treated as a store. So
that's the hard decision, right? Is whether or not to open.
I was scared to death.
Yeah, that's.
I was scared to death because I personally didn't think it would work, and then I kind of was proven wrong. That it actually can work. So I was petrified, and one of my friends who had a store, and he goes, "Look, dude, you'll be all right. You're not an asshole, so everything will be okay. It'll work out."
Jump in the water. Jump in the water.
Well, if you treat your people right, they will reward you with continued customer service. So that's kind of the that's our thing that we do. Like, we don't. Fast forward right now, my store manager is the guy I bought all the comics from his store when he had it when he was like 20 some years old. So I turned around and hired him back. So he is now Kevin, who Tim, you've met.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And that's who I have working for me now. And we like to say, we don't upsell you anything. We just point to the things you already want. So we learn what you like. And we're like, hey, this thing came out today. And they're like, oh, and then they have to have it. So we don't sell you anything. We just point like, here it is.
Here it is. Well, that's a great story you have there. And that's a pretty impressive run of 7 years. Let's jump over to Uncle Bob. Same thing for you, right? I'm an action figure collector, and I was one ever since I was a kid. And I stumbled across your store that day when I was out with David Daub, scouting around for collectible stores, and I was impressed right away. So I'm going to start you with the same question. What motivated you to start a brick and mortar, and when did you start?
Well, we just opened the brick and mortar. It's December, 2 weeks before Christmas. We opened doors.
Was there an event where you said, "Hey, I'm going to do it"?
No, we're going to do it. There was no hesitant. We were just going to do it. I mean, we bought the building. We saved up. So we just jumped right in because, like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years at least, buying and selling, here in Pennsylvania. I've been here in PA for 20 years now. I grew up in New York City. I've spent a lot of time with my one aunt and uncle in antique stores and flea markets and yard sales and out picking, you know?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
honestly, what I started with, like 10 years ago, I started with military surplus because
Oh, no kidding.
I was in the military and I love that stuff. You know, I collect World War II guns, rifles and stuff. I think they're cool. I love history. So
Yeah,
that really interested me. So started with that, and then it kind of dried up. And the way I started that business is funny because I sold my comic book collection to do it.
So you're a
kept
comic
all my
collector
Captain
too.
America because that was my favorite, and I sold off a lot of the other stuff, and then started just buying and selling and using that money and just rolling it in, and it just grew. And like when the military surplus started drying up, my sources all dried up, and I couldn't find stuff. I sold off what I had, and the other thing I love is toys. I still have some of my childhood stuff. I got my childhood Godzilla over here on the shelf behind me.
Nice.
No, Godzilla Shogun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I remember it.
I
I
got
was
my
a
Sea
I was a
Adventure
Shogun
from
Warriors
Adventure
guy.
Team over here in the other cabinet. The old redhead with the fuzzy head G.I. Joe. That I played with in the pool.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the toys, and I went that direction. And like Paul was saying, it's like, okay, you buy this lot because you want some pieces here, and it just grows and grows and grows.
Right.
Right. And that's
Yeah,
what
it grows.
in my basement with stuff. And my wife and I said, you know what? I'm retired. I'm disabled vet. And actually, I said post office. I was postal. So I was a maintenance manager in the post office. I started as a mechanic.
Which one?
Harrisburg. Over in Harrisburg.
Yeah, me too.
Really? I thought you looked familiar. Dude, I was the 2 or 3 maintenance manager in Harrisburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was in statistics and all kinds of other stuff. So,
God, I know. Now I remember you. Yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at that, man. Creative Cranium,
we ran
bringing
into
people
each other all
together.
the time. I recognize you now. The long hair gave it away. Yeah.
Well, that'll do it. Yeah, I still have my hair. Yeah,
that's right.
Nice. Yeah, at least you have here.
Yeah, dude. I started out as a mechanic. I transferred in 03. And then when in my mid-30s, my back and my neck and my spine started getting really bad. I got hurt in the service with my spine, and it just got really bad. So I decided to get into management. And I went as supervisor, and I was working days as a supervisor for a while. Yeah, I was a supervisor for a while in maintenance, and then I was on day shift. I had a great gig, and they're like, "Oh, you got to go back to night shift." So it's like, well, if I'm going to go back, I might as well try and get the manager's job. So I did. I applied for it, got it. And then they pushed me out the door in 19. They couldn't accommodate me. So, and that's when we just went full time into this. I just concentrated on the toys.
Oh,
maybe a blessing in disguise.
I haven't been happier.
Yeah,
so it's like the best thing was getting out. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, they couldn't accommodate my restrictions that the VA put on me. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me was they shoved me out the door, and I took the disability retirement.
100%.
And, the VA gave me 100% because my spine is a wreck. And, we're comfortable. My wife and I are mad happy running that store together. We got our puppy dog with us. And
well, it's like it's
awesome.
At Comics Pro, everybody's like, oh, everybody plays golf when they retire. And it's like, yeah, this is me playing golf. Yeah.
This is my golf. Yeah. I mean, and I don't work a day in my life because I love what I'm doing. I sit around, I talk pop culture. I
had a woman today. She's
like,
do you work here? I'm like, no, this isn't working.
Not really work. Yeah.
Well,
like
congratulations.
It's awesome. Yeah,
congratulations on opening the brick and mortar store.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Store to got there. Let's jump over to ONRIE. Same question for you, brother. I mean, we see you out on the con circuit moving books. When did you start doing it? And I guess one of the questions, and we're going to circle back to the other guys with this too. Why did you start doing it? Like, why collectibles?
So I started self-publishing in 2005. I went to a local comic convention, Wizard World, Chicago, and I had a good experience there. Like, I kind of realized, like, I wanted to be out front and talking to people, but I wasn't really happy with the books that I had put out. So I took some time and really focused on appreciate that. It's not true. I actually have Chuck Norris pajamas. Anyway, I started working on comics that I felt more connected to, like something that I could really invest myself into and work with for a longer time. I noticed that a lot of creators were writing multiple projects in order to show that, like what Paul was talking about before, like diversity, like just, writing all genres and just constantly writing. And I really wanted to focus on developing one IP. So I was really focused on that for a long time. And that's my series right here, Yisun Shin. And it's historical, and it's about a Korean admiral that fought the Japanese in the 1500s. He was outnumbered 10-1, and he never lost a battle against them. And it's all based on a true story. And we actually got Stan Lee to write the introduction to our book, which was really cool.
That's bad.
And been going from one convention to another and selling. We tried getting into the direct market, but it was really hard. I think and we'll get into it later on with the whole.
Yeah. We've talked about that here on the show, and I would put out there that I think the approach of doing what you're doing is more profitable than the direct market. Maybe we'll save that for another episode, but I know I don't hit my percentages in any of my publishing deals.
I'm sure both of these. Well, I'm sure both of these guys would have something to say about that. But I did find that when we talk about it, when I talk with other retailers and other people who are in the collectibles business, we all talk about that razor thin margin. And I was lucky enough to find that razor thin margin by going to all of these conventions and selling large amounts of books. So like on average, we're selling like 1,100 copies of Yisun Shin and all the other books that I have within like a 3-day period at a convention.
That's like New York, for example. What kind of city?
New York, we actually bring about like 1,500. So
yeah, for the viewers that don't know, 1,100 books through a con is an astonishing number. That's a nice job, brother.
It's usually over like the course of a 3-day period that we're moving these books to. So,
so clarify something for me. Clarify something. So when you have your booth, and it's because you have a couple of titles, right? So you're selling your own IPs, and you sell collectible comics on the other
side? No, actually,
side?
Lately, I haven't been selling collectible comics at conventions, but I have set up at conventions where I do bring the collectibles. As you can imagine, it's a lot. Like, I don't think you could just run a collectibles booth without having it like manned, because there's just so much stuff over there, and you got to have eyes on what's going on, especially
or you could, because look, I'm taking a look at this too. I sell a little bit of comics, and I sell a little bit of graded books and artwork, you guys know. Well, it might be useful for me to have, because I got a couple of staff members that can walk right up and like pitch my books, and like in a way they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. But then, like, as Paul and Uncle Bob know, the collectible customer can see through bullshit in 2 seconds, right? So if he starts asking you questions about Silver Age books, or is this the Mego version? If that person doesn't know, you're probably going to lose the sale, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
Big Dog Inc.
Yeah, but so I started out in the self-publishing, and then I really got into the collectibles like around COVID. And actually, Big Dog Inc., Tom Hutchinson, he's one of the resellers who works on the Comic Book Shopping Network. He's doing pretty much what I'm doing. He's a hybrid publisher, reseller as well. Right. And I saw what he was doing, and I'm like, I want to do that. And I'm kind of like in the same school of thinking that, like, I don't want to open a shop. It's like the biggest fear of my life to,
hold on, stop right there, because we got two of the smart people in the room, right? Why would you say you don't want to open a shop?
Where?
Well, honestly, I think the biggest concern for me right now is being able to operate it, like between all the things I have going on, because my business has multiple like avenues of bringing in money. And a lot of it is online, but a lot of it's also at conventions. Like the bulk of my money comes from conventions. So I'm constantly on the road, which means like I would have to close up my shop or hire somebody. And, I don't know anybody. I think hiring in my area has been really hard for me to like find somebody like trustworthy who can actually manage stuff.
I forgot where you are. What's your city?
I'm in Illinois. I'm in Northbrook. So it's northwest suburbs. We're about like 45 minutes from Chicago, about an hour away from Milwaukee. So I've just decided to start buying up collections. I bought out some overstock from a comic shop. and then that just basically gave me enough to open up my own store. But I was just reselling everything from within my warehouse, and I just go online 3 times a week. Before I was doing it 5 times a week. Now I just kind of like streamlined it a little bit more, and I've just been slowly building up my customer base. Using 3 different networks. So the Comic Book Shopping Network is one of them. They have over 7,000 vetted subscribers. People who ask to be a part of the group and have to ask or answer a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a broadcaster on The Experience, which is
Jen King?
That's Jen King.
Yeah, I know Jen. Yeah, she's sweet.
Northrop. Yeah, they're both running that, and then I do it on my own channel, and so it gives me 3 different demographics. But mostly, what I've noticed is I have all my regulars are kind of following me from one channel to the next. It's really kind of just getting the right time, place, in order. But then there's the Kickstarter thing, which changes things up because I'm online broadcasting 3 times a week, selling people collectibles. And then once I'm in Kickstarter mode, it's like, well, wait, now I need you to focus on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, you switch over. I do that too.
Yeah.
I do that too.
It's tricky, but I mean, like, it's a lot of fun. And, I also don't feel like I'm working a day in my life. But, Bob, I actually got to give you credit. The fact that you just jumped in with both feet is like, without any hesitation, it's like, I feel like you kind of have to have that mentality to some degree, that you're going to make it work and that you can trust yourself to make it work, because you're all you've got. And if you're going to bet on anything, might as well bet on yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just it's going to happen. It's going to work.
Right.
So that's a great sort of existential question, right? Like, we talk about when you guys did it, but I kind of want to know a little bit about why you did it. So let's switch back to Paul. So Paul, out of all the things that you could have chosen, you chose to go into the collectibles and comics market. I mean, what made you choose that? Was it something from your childhood? What was the pull for you?
When I was 10 years old, I used to deliver. My first job was delivering out of town newspapers, which that company also did all the distribution for magazines and, of course, comic books to all the newsstands and stuff that were in our area. And so I've been around it all my life. And I read comics and collected comics when I was a very little kid before I started doing things. And then I started working for the company that actually was doing distribution. So I was unloading the trucks that had the bundles of comics as they were coming off and stuff like that. So I was doing all that stuff. And postal work isn't that far removed from that kind of thing. And, a lot of things that I did with that also kind of prepared me to be a business owner, because I worked in statistics. So
Okay.
I was the reason for a long time why stamps went up, because I worked in that department. So I understood the finances of everything, which helps me with this, because now I understand, and that's what I explained to my card buyers and things, because I try to stay out of it. I try to be comics, and everybody else has their thing. So I literally have a Pokemon guy, I have a Magic guy, and they're the ones that do the buying. And I've trained them to go, okay, you got to factor in how much time are you spending on processing these cards. That's got to go into the cost factor of what we're paying on this. So if it's somebody saying, oh, they want this on here, our margin is not here. It's here now, because you got to factor in your time. Right. And like, they're starting to see that light, and it's like, yeah, look, we're not paying for this. I need this margin because lights need to stay on. You guys are on payroll. You need to, I got to pay all those taxes. I got to pay all that Social Security. I got to pay.
How many employees you got there, Paul?
I have 4 people on payroll right now.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I have a question for you, Paul.
Sure.
So when you bring these people on, you're giving them buying power. So I'm assuming like what you're kind of doing is trying to kind of clone your versions of yourself, but to manage different branches of the.
Yes, they all have their specialties.
Right.
So the person that I have working on Pokemon cards, he knows what's in my Pokemon inventory. And I let him do that because I can't stay on top of that anymore. When it was just me doing the flea markets and the shows on the weekend and being a weekend warrior, I stayed on top of it. I am so large right now, I can't do all of it anymore. So my store manager takes a lot care of a lot of my gaming ordering, where I do most of the comic ordering and stuff. That's where I step in. Eventually I need somebody else to start doing the ordering, because as Tim knows, everything's fractured right now with all the ordering. So I'm not ordering from one distributor anymore like I used to. I'm ordering from 5.
Yeah, tell you what, hold that
Just
thought,
top.
because I got a question about that coming up. Paul, save that for the next one.
It takes a lot of time to do that. But so right now I'm training and working my guys. So my magic guys and stuff, it's like, okay, he knows what to look for. He's on top of what's going on in the game. So they know more about it than I do. And like today, a collection came in and he called me. He's like, all right, this is what we would sell it for. This is what they're asking. And I'm like, okay, how quick's it going to move? And he's like, well, and then we have that discussion.
Nice.
That's actually, that sounds like the way to run it, because it's like one thing I kind of notice is, even when it comes to comics, I mean, there's subgenres upon subgenres and everything, and there's just not enough product. There's not enough product out there to even showcase, let alone move. That you kind of have to look at that collection that you're buying and really think to yourself, how quickly am I going to make my money on it?
And as diverse as I am with things, I still limit it a little bit. So one of my problems, and it's one of the things I'm trying to expand on, is our manga section, because at Comics Pro and a few of these other things, they keep telling us that manga's the thing. Manga's the thing to go to. And when you go to New York Comic Con, it's not New York Comic Con anymore. It's New York Manga or Anime Con. Yeah. And because like they got a whole section now that's all just manga and anime. And that is my weakness. I know nothing about it. I'm old.
It's mine too.
And I don't really have a person for that. I'm trying to get better. A lot of the publishers are working with me to help it go better. But a lot of times when people say they want to start a business or something, I like, you got to do what you know. So Bob's right. If toys is his thing, you stay with toys. Yep. Comics is my thing. Yeah. Pokemon, I know a lot about. Magic, I know a lot about. But you got to stay with the things you know. I can't sell manga. I don't know enough about it. I know some things, not enough.
Speaking of Bob, let's jump over to Bob on that question. Bob, the same thing for you, man. So you mentioned you were a comic guy too in the beginning. So the question is, why did you choose to do toys? Like, you could have done anything probably, right? And arguably you chose one of the harder things. What drove you to choose it?
I love it. I mean, I love toys. I was a big kid. I mean, all my life I've been a big kid. I mean, I loved action figures growing up, and that's kind of what I do more than anything. Like, people come in the shop looking for trains and looking for Hot Wheels, and it's like, I got a little bit here and there, but it's not really our thing.
What was your favorites growing up, Bob?
My favorite? Star Wars. I mean, it's behind me.
Gotcha.
That's
you do anything with the graded figures?
I have some.
Yeah.
I do some. I have some prototypes and stuff.
Oh, no kidding. You got a Boba Fett? Rocket
I wish. I wish. I got a reproduction.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I do. I got 2 reproductions, Boba Fett with the rocket fire.
Okay, nice. I used to, just briefly, I used to work for Hakes Auctions, and man, we used to see some crazy Star Wars.
I've gotten some great stuff from Hakes.
Yeah. That's a good operation. It goes back to what Paul said. I was actually hired at Hakes I was like their comic guy. They have like an art guy and
right.
Like a action figure guy. But like,
I've had the Hakes comic guy come in here several times. So.
I don't work there anymore.
I mean, I used to do comics pretty hard, and like Paul, I grew up reading comic books. Like I said, I grew up in New York City, and my mom's sister lived next door. And she'd be like, hey, Robbie, they call me Robbie back then. Hey, Robbie, here's $1. Go buy me a pack of cigarettes. So I'd go up to the store and she'd keep the change. I'd get her a pack of Benson & Hedges 100s, a pack of matches for me to play with, A comic book and a pack of gum, and I'd still have a nickel in my pocket, you know?
Nice.
And that's how I got, you know, I love the old comic books, you know, silver and bronze. Awesome. I mean, I have a Captain America number 32 graded. It's like a timely. I love it. It's an awesome cover.
Nice.
But, you know, I like comic books, but I love toys, you know? So I just went with the toys. It's like what I enjoy.
That's what makes it not like working, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They say if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
Nice.
Actually, Stan Lee said
stressful days and bullshit days, you know, between the military and the government, that I'm ready to enjoy work.
Stan Lee said the exact same thing to me when I was in his office. So I think there's something to be said about that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, like Paul said, you know, you got to specialize, and there's certain lines of toys that I know a lot about because I grew up around them. And then like some of the later 80s and earlier 90s stuff, I'm learning, you know, like Transformers. I never played with Transformers once. You know, I was too old. I was a teenager. I was doing other things.
Yeah.
But now I'm learning, you know, and like my wife does a lot of the girl toys. So like you've been in our shop, that whole back section is like all girl toys. And then our front section is like all the boy toys. And then we do other pop culture things that are collectible, like the character glasses are hot right now and things like that, you know.
That's we got to give that store a shout out, man. That's Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys. Recommended. We came there actually looking for something else, and there's something that you do there that I thought was really cool, which is you just lean into it. Like this is what he does, you know, and it's this very specific, very very kind of critical market segment, right? Like it's the person who, and I relate to it, number one, because I worked at Hakes, but generally speaking, comic people are almost always action figure people. Maybe not every time.
There's a lot of crossover there.
There's a lot of crossover. And we were definitely impressed with it. Can I ask you, how did you choose the location?
It came up for sale. We had put back some money. We were saving up to buy a property, and, you know, within, you know, a 30-minute drive of where we live, and we were actually in process of looking at, we were in negotiations for another property, and there was a lot of damage, and it needed a ton of work, and we were having difficulty with the seller. You know, I found a lot of problems that we didn't see initially, and my wife and I were sitting here discussing what are we going to do next. You know, the guy is breaking contract, he's not standing up to his end of the bargain and whatnot, and then I'm sitting here in front of this very same computer, and an email pops up from my realtor for that place. And I called him up, and I'm like, hey, dude. And he's like, yeah, I saw it. You want to see it? We went over that night. By 9 o'clock, we canceled the other building and put in a bid on this building. You know, and there it is. And it's just, the location is killer. Yeah, it's just killer. I have so much drive-by traffic.
Yeah, he's right by almost close to the bridge, and or like right when you get off the exit. So
you could throw a rock and hit the Susquehanna. Yeah, right there on 3rd.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm right on 422, so I got like 28,000 cars driving by with the stoplight right in front of the store. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's also great. I have a balcony here in my house, and it's right on the main road where the highway is. I get a lot of traffic too. Sometimes I hold up a sign
on your balcony.
A sign, and I hold it out on my balcony.
They come into your house.
It's free online. Actually, it's about 3 or 4 paragraphs. You know, I just want to give people something to read while they're driving.
There you go.
So, Henri, let's have you answer a question, right? So you're primarily known for the con circuit. So my question for you is, how do you choose the shows? That's something that I've been doing. Matter of fact, I've been working with guys like Paul, getting me into some better quality shows. When I say better quality, I've been doing some smaller shows with more collectors, and I sell better there. I actually do a little better at the smaller shows. You have 2 cents on that, Henri?
First and foremost, I wouldn't say that there's a difference in quality between a big or a small show. There can be quality. There's quality in every single convention that you do, whether it's near or far. When I first started out in this business, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and 15 years later, I still have no idea what I'm doing. You know, so you know, I I started out by talking to a couple creators that were at this local hangout, drink and draw, which there's drink and draws in pretty much every state. Right. And I was hanging out in the one in Chicago. I was talking to a dude I met, at another comic shop. They had like this event, and we all connected. So I was at a drink and draw, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to set off and do this thing. We go to conventions. Which one should I go to? And he named off all the big ones. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to all the big conventions. And so I started doing it, and I found, obviously when you go and you do a bigger show, like let's just take Emerald City Comic Con for example. My upfront expenses are obviously going to be a lot higher at a show like that because I have to travel further. So I have to ship out inventory. All in, I'm probably at about like $2,000 for just doing like Emerald City, right? Yeah. And but the return on that show is going to be a lot higher. So in particular this year, I had my biggest pullout from that show. So that was great. But then I went to Indiana Comic Con, and that was last weekend, and I made about half the money, but I was still in the black because I only had to drive 3 hours. I didn't have to ship books. I got a hotel. So my all-in costs were half of what they were in Emerald City. And when you factor in what I actually brought, like percentage-wise, it was about the same as Emerald City Comic Con. Not the same dollar amount, but the same amount in percentage of what does the show's yield like, Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
So coming from statistics, so what you're saying is a lot of times you have to look at what are you actually doing and what is your take home. So going on with what you said, like I used to do Baltimore for years. And the one year that we did Harrisburg for the first time made me decide not to do Baltimore anymore, because even though my gross wasn't as high as Baltimore, my take home was the same because my expenses were way down. Right. One of the things that Tim was saying about some of these smaller shows, that's what we're finding, is we can do a smaller show where our expenses are super low because we drive maybe 2 hours, maybe a little and change. And we drive there. We don't have hotels. Our tables are under $100 a table. You take a couple tables and you might be able to do half of what you can do on those big shows. And again, you're taking home a lot more. So a lot of our guys that used to do stuff, we're not doing the big shows as much as we used to anymore, because it makes more sense for us to do the smaller shows, because right now the smaller shows is finding us the comic collectors. Those are the guys that are digging in the boxes and looking for stuff. Yeah. Right. The bigger problem with the big shows is things, and I'm going to throw out Fan Expo because I'm mad at them right now, Tim, because I can't get you at my store on Free Comic Day because of Fan Expo. And
I knew that was coming.
Wow, I got to throw it out there. But they're more concerned about getting the money for the celebrity photos and autographs because they're taking a chunk out of that. So you got to go buy a ticket at the booth and they take a part of that. So all that money's going to the celebrities, and the vendors are stuck with people not really having any money. So if they're going to Philadelphia, they're spending $35 to park, probably. They're spending, I don't know, what's Fan Expo now to get in for a weekend pass, $140? So like about $200 just walking in. They didn't buy anything yet, and they already spent $200.
And this is exactly my point. This is what I've been saying. The costs, even for the consumer, are ramping up so high. Everything's got to be cut out of the pie somewhere. What's being cut out is the money that they used to spend at the creator table.
That's right. So they're not spending it with us as at the creator table. And that was one of the things that Awesome Con used to set up really well. When you walked in, there were the comic vendors, and then there was Artist Alley, and then the celebrities. That was your path to walk through there, and that set it up really well. And never ever at any other shows did I see the Artist Alley shows, Artist Alley booths do as well than they did at those shows.
The thing I'll say about it, what's always worked for me, and why I'm always able to pull out of conventions, because of everything that we just talked about. I try to keep my prices very low on my creator-owned books, because if I start charging top dollar for my books, I would not sell out in any convention. I wouldn't sell anything.
Yeah.
You know, these people have very, very passive income, and on top of that, they also had to walk. You know, forget all the expenses. Now they have to walk around the entire convention floor and figure out the stuff they want to buy. Then they buy it. And then they got to lug all that stuff around. Hope they don't get mugged in the process or lose anything among all the people that are there. It's a lot, you know. And I think that there's, you know, as an independent creator, I kind of have to do it, because this is where I can show my face and create that experience and get the book in people's hands, which is
right. The marketing of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So going on that with ONRIE, one of the things that I talk with a lot of the publishers is when they have a series or an ongoing series, if they can give me a first trade at a $10 price point, that is something I can easily put into somebody's hand. Like, hey, this is really good. You should try this. It's only $10 to start the first 4 or 5 issues, whatever. I don't care. That $10 price point is still less than the price of a movie ticket, and they can be entertained. And once they're entertained, you got them. Right. And they will be back for volume 2. So like that's a really good a selling point for us. We're like, hey, this is really good. It's only $10 to try it and to see if you like it. And people will be more receptive to that, because it's not the $15 or $20 or $25 price point to jump in.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more.
I definitely agree with that. That's hard to get them. You got to have something on the hook for the first time. Let's switch the question over to Uncle Bob. Same thing for conventions, right? First, you still do shows now, right?
Very few.
How do you choose which shows you do?
Well, there's one that my best friend promotes, and it happens to be my favorite show of the year anyway.
Right.
So I'll always be there. That's Toys for the Ages in Carlisle. It's vintage oriented. He requires vendors to have 75% of their product being vintage. So like, you're going to walk into that show, it's not going to be like walking into Walmart or Target. You're going to see nothing but nostalgia. You're going to see some off the hook shit. I mean, stuff that I've never seen before. Just knock your socks off stuff. So, I mean, I'll always do that one. And then like the York Toy Show, because that's a great show. It's 2 buildings. It's big. There's a huge variety of stuff. You got guys selling comics, models, the old plastic marks stuff, and the little forts and shit, all kind of stuff. It's all over the place. So that brings in a big crowd, you know. So and that's a Sunday show, you know. So and now with the shop, a lot of the other ones are on Saturday, so I'm just not going to do them. You know, it's a lot of work, you know. I don't know how it is for comics and stuff, but when you're talking, you got a buttload, a bunch of loose stuff and box stuff and stuff for the pegs. It's a lot of work to get all your toys and you know, you got a Star Wars over here and G.I. Joe's over there and Transformers, and everything's got to be sectioned off. And the more booths you buy, the worse it is. It literally kicks my ass. I'll be down for days afterwards. So I don't really want to do much shows anymore. I'm pretty much done. You know, but when I picked, it had to be something that was going to pay out. You know, you got to have like either something that's collector oriented, like Toys for the Ages. You know, it's directed at collectors, so you know you're going to get some of those big sales, those $800,000 pieces going out the door. You know, or it's going to have to be volume. You know, like Maryland Toy Expo. They get 5,000 people through the door. You know, that's a pretty good show around here.
There's a good question for you guys. Do you deal with a lot of theft at these shows? So far, I've been lucky. I have not.
Yeah. I haven't, but I'm from New York. I watch everybody like a hawk. Yeah, you know, I don't trust anybody. There's no offense. That's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust anybody. You know, I watch them close. You know.
Yeah,
we haven't had any problems. And personally, if it's valuable, it's going under glass.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah. I lock the cases. You know,
do you mind if I ask you what's your highest price point item at a show? Do you have any kind of like you know, graded some kind of hundreds of thousands of dollars in your?
No, I don't have anything like that. No. If I did, it would be in my collection.
Oh, nice, nice.
But $1,000 or less,
Okay,
because
okay.
it's just the high dollar stuff. You could get into that crazy Star Wars prototypes for $30,000, $40,000, but it's like, how many people can buy those?
Right. You're going to sell one, but that's probably it.
Yeah. So if you're marketing that, take it to Hakes.
Yeah.
If you land something like that, but no more than $1,000 or $2,000, because people just don't have it.
Giving Hakes a shout out tonight. Those guys can mail me a check. Steve Geppy has the money. Hey, so let's answer this question. We're almost ready to wrap it up here. So we're talking about, we all have some kind of a vested interest in trying to reach the customer that's a collector, right? And for example, AA Comics and Cards, they got a broad selection of things and a great way to reach out to collectors. But my question to Paul is this: what's the way that you keep that customer? What's the secret to getting them to come back every week?
Plain and simple, customer service.
Absolutely.
If you don't give them customer service, they're not coming back. So if they think they are being gouged, if they think they are being fleeced over, once they learn that, they're done. And that's what happens for people that get into this type of business, and they think they're going to make all kinds of money with this. And you don't get into this to make all kinds of money. You get into this because you enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to continue to do it. That's how you're going to be successful with it, because the only way you do that is keeping customers. And I think, Tim, and you and I have had this conversation before. Like, I've been teaching guitar for 40 some years, and I've had a knack of being able to hold on to students a lot longer than I saw other guitar teachers that were friends and peers of mine be able to hold on to. And it's because I was always able to give them something. So it's kind of, I use that same philosophy here with this. We have a rapport, we have a relationship with all of our customers. This is the safe haven. This is the I don't like using the term nerd because that doesn't really feel right for this. This is a genre that people are very passionate about, and that's one of the things. They care about their characters, and they want to talk about it, and they can come here and they can talk about it, and we can engage them in a conversation, and they can feel safe and comfortable with that. But we can also recommend, and that's one of the things. Somebody comes in and says, "I've never read a comic before." Like, okay, what do you like? And I ask them questions, what they like. And it's like, oh, you like horror? Here, go over here and try Joe Hill's Lock and Key. This is one of my favorite books from the last 15 years. And I got to tell Joe Hill that story at New York Comic Con one year when I met and spoke with him for a while. And he was very, very pleased to hear that was one of the books that newbies, as he called them, were being introduced to, and once they get that and go, oh, okay, this was pretty cool, and they'll come back the next week and go, all right, that was good, what else? And you start building that trust and confidence with them. So that's one of the things. And as far as going back with like some of my collectibles and the wall books, so the pricier stuff, the older stuff, I grade and price, as far as I'm concerned, fairly. I've had many people come up to me at many shows, Baltimore, Washington, all kinds of other ones, and say, you price stuff pretty fairly. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what I do. And then people want a discount. I'm like, I'm already pricing this way less than what you're going to see most other people pricing them out at. And they're going to give you a discount because they just marked everything up. They're going to give you a 25% discount. They marked it up 25% or more to give you that discount. That's usually what they do. So would you rather have just a flat price and this is what it is? Because I'd rather do that. Go, here's a fair price. This is what it is. And as people get accustomed to that, they feel more confident. I think that's one of the things why we have the business that we do, plus the diversity.
You guys got a nice operation there. That's definitely a recommended store. That's AA Comics and Cards in Lebanon, PA.
Well, we like to call it Lebanon because that's how we say it. Lebanon, that's a country. You know, they got conflict in the Middle East.
Yeah,
We're Lebanon. We make bologna.
Gotcha, gotcha. Let's move over to Uncle Bob. Can you add anything as far as, for the modern toy collector? What are some ways that you would keep your customer coming back?
Well, Paul's right. Customer service is important, but so is reputation. You don't want to be known for somebody that's sticking it to people, or you don't want to be known to be overpriced. You want to give them a good experience. You want them to leave smiling. I have no problem nerding out with anybody. I will talk pop culture and toys all day long. Pick a subject, I'm there with you. And it don't matter what it is. I'll listen to anybody talk about their collection because I love to see their eyes light up. And because everybody's proud of their stuff. Everybody's proud of their collection. I mean, that may not be for me. I don't collect ponies, but the lady that comes in and is tickled to death because my wife had the pony that she's been looking for. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's definitely.
I had a little kid in our shop. He's a huge Hulk fan, right? His mom brought him in, and he found a couple of Hulks. He says his mom, he's like, "This is the greatest place on earth." Oh my God, I cry. You want to cry. You hear something like that from this little kid. He's loving it, and to see that really makes you feel good. So we sell nostalgia because all the old toys. We try to provide a good experience. We welcome everybody in our shop. I got the best greeter on the planet. My dog Stella. She's a Brittany. She's super sweet. Everybody loves her. Come see Stella. Don't worry
Congrats
about
on your.
She's great.
Congrats on your brick and mortar. It's a great store. That's Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys. That's in Lemoyne, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Or you can follow them on Facebook too. I follow you guys now.
Facebook and Insta.
I'm going to change the question just a hair for ONRIE, right? So we talk all the time about how we're going to get customers to come back and how we're going to understand these collectors. But I'm going to tack an extra level onto yours because I know you do a little retailing. I do a little retailing too. My question to you is, how do you get them to come back to the next campaign, crowdfunding campaign? That's what I want to know.
Well, both of what these guys said is really, a major component of it. Customer service is so important, and so is your reputation. And you build your reputation through customer service, but your reputation is important. It's your integrity, and that's, once you have that, and the way to maintain that is through engagement. I have a newsletter, and I send out my newsletter religiously 1 to 2 times a week if I have to. But you gotta stay in touch with these people because even with my live stream broadcasts, if I'm not on consistently, people will find other things to do. And it was something I was thinking about the other day as I was making a list of principles that I want my business to run on. And one of those things was realizing that people are carving time out of their day to be with me online. They could be on TikTok watching food porn, or spending time with their families, or watching one of a million different TV shows, yet they are spending time with me. So whether I have a really good show and I make a lot of money, or I make almost no money, the point is that they are here with me. And again, to kind of jump on what Paul was saying, you don't get into this to make a lot of money, but you make money by providing that service and being by establishing that continuity for your customer base, being fair with your pricing. And I let all my customers know, I go and I hunt for books in dollar bins, and I tell them, I bought these books for $1. I'm selling them for $2, period. There's no, they know exactly where the cut is. If I'm into it for $5, I sell for $10. That's it. There's sometimes room for me to move the price a little bit for a customer, especially if, they're shopping with me on a regular basis, and I'll typically do that for them because I'm working at home. I certainly don't have the same overhead that either of these guys do. And, engagement, customer service, and your reputation. So all these things are just so important,
Yeah, these are great answers. And I'm thrilled to hear the emphasis on customer service. That's one of the things that's very important to me. And I've had a terrific time dealing with all of you in your shops and in your various ventures. So I'd like to congratulate you for all your ventures, and thanks for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts with us. You've each got about 1 minute. If you want to give a quick shout out, tell the viewers where we can find you, and tell us one more time who you are. First up is Paul with AA Comics. Where can we find you, Paul?
All right, I'm Paul. We're at AA Comics and Cards. We are in the heart of downtown Lebanon, right at 610 Cumberland Street. We're right on 422. I got a 30-foot award-winning square foot front, and just stop on in.
Perfect. Uncle Bob, Vintage Toys. Tell us where we can find you, sir.
I'm Bob. I'm with Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys. We are at 305 Herman Avenue, Lemoyne. It is Lemoyne, I was told. PA 17043. You can follow me on Insta, follow me on Facebook. I'm constantly posting all my picks and finds. And yeah, we are just a stone's throw from Harrisburg, right across the river. So right off of 83 South, 80 North. 83 South, there's a Lemoyne exit. We're right there. Like right there.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Congrats on your place, Uncle Bob.
Appreciate you.
Next up, my pal Henri. You get the final word, sir. Where can we find you?
Excellent. So you guys can find me online. I am about to launch a Kickstarter right now. The best place to get in touch with me is through Facebook. So just friend me on Facebook. We have a Kickstarter launching on April 2nd, and this is for a graphic novel called Marks, A Tale of Survival. It's about my grandfather's life and what he went through as a Russian Jewish soldier during the Second World War. He fought the Nazis. I'm also on live stream broadcasts 3 times a week on CBSN, The Experience, and my own channel. And I'm also at various conventions throughout the country. I'll be at C2E2 in a couple weeks. And yeah, check me out.
Nice, nice. Hey, listen, Henri, I follow you. I'm a fan. I wish you every success with your Kickstarter project. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to thank my guests for dropping the knowledge bombs. This has been an episode of the Creative Cranium. For those of you that want to hang around, we're going to have a publisher's hangout coming up after the, by the way, Henri, if you want to keep hanging out with us, we're going to be on for about a half hour or so. Other than that, thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back. We're going to do a creators hangout. This is a special episode we're doing tonight. We are live. So I want to introduce you to a couple of people that I'm meeting for the first time. First up, this is my new pal, Mark Maya. Mark, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for inviting me to this late night hangout. It's very exciting.
It is nice to see you. Hey, by the way, if you have like some links or something to any projects, if you want to drop it in the private chat, I'll share it out to the group here while we are talking. So, man, nice to meet you. First time we're meeting. Real quick, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you're mostly known for?
Well, my name is Mark Maya. What I'm mostly known for is I have a YouTube channel called Board Game Coffee, and we specialize in board game content. So I teach people how to play. I do reviews, previews, playthroughs, etc. But now I'm moving into the and in my professional life, I'm a video game designer. But I'm moving into comic books, and this is my own my first personal comic book I'm doing, which is called So-Called Living. This is this title right here.
Very cool. And where's home for you, Mark? Where are you from?
Currently home is in London, Ontario. So I'm Canadian.
Ah, Canadian. All right.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Toronto, which is it's a more popular city.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's nice to finally meet you. I look forward to learning more about your projects. You said you're a video game designer too, yeah?
Yeah. I've been doing that for 24 years.
Wow, that's really cool. What kind of games?
Variety. The more popular games that I've done, because I've done probably over 100 games. But as far as big titles that you might recognize, Battlefield was a license that I worked on. So I worked on, but that was a long time ago. It was Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2. That was long time ago, like probably
Nice.
20 years ago, 19 years ago. But My Singing Monsters is another. That's a iPhone app that, or an app in general, you can get it on Android. That was produced by a company that I co-founded. So yeah, now I'm just doing contract freelance work for the video game industry.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to introduce you to my friend Paul. He's from AA Comics. I believe he's there. What's up, Paul?
Hey,
Hey, Paul.
I'm
This
here.
is my friend Mark. He is a video game developer and also now going to be a comic publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah, we're
This
all
is
gonna
my
need it.
first time. I'm like nervous.
Well, it's you gotta do what you love.
What is the Mark? What's the book about?
It's sorry. So-Called Living is it's a book that asks the question, what if we lived in a world where vampires, werewolves, and zombies lived among us as part of our regular everyday community? So they're not like in hiding. It's not an apocalypse. We're still going to work every day, headed to Starbucks, but we might be having a coffee with maybe there was a vampire barista, or you walk across some vagrant zombies in an alleyway or something.
I think there was a Creep Show episode like similar to that. Yeah.
Well,
sounds
it's
cool.
just like part of your everyday, and because this is the world that everybody grew up in, the way these monsters act, although they follow the same rules, their personalities are different because they didn't grow up in the same world where they were rejected or they had to live their lives in hiding. So it's completely different as far as their personalities and how people interact with them, but they still have to follow the same rules. Vampires can't be in the sun, garlic bad, holy water crosses that thing, vampires full moons, that's their deal. So they still follow those rules.
Nice, nice. Hey, so I'd like to introduce my next guest. That's JD Calderon. Okay, am I saying this right? Magi's Grace.
Magi's Grace. That's right.
Oh, I got it on. Now, I had heard a little bit about this title, but I don't think I realized it was Lovecraftian.
Yeah, it's a bit Lovecraftian. I mean, these two characters are the sorceress warrior matched up with a big guy grunt who likes to smash skulls, and they basically come together whenever they're called in to deal when cryptids meet the supernatural. So, and they have their clashes, and these are the two people they bring in to solve their issues. So, in this story, we have creatures from Innsmouth who are being invaded by vampires, and these two are brought in to try to sort out that situation. So, it's a fun romp. That's really all I was trying to do with this one. Is just trying to enjoy myself and just do something a little silly.
Now, are we sticking to your program here where you're going to be releasing a Kickstarter roughly every 15 minutes? Is that what's going on here?
Yes.
Didn't you just finish one?
Yes. Yeah, the Oswald Chronicles. The Oswald Chronicles finished about 2 weeks ago, and I should be fulfilling. I'll be fulfilling that one hopefully in the next week when I get the books, and then this one got another 20 days. And then I have another campaign to launch right after this one, as soon as that one's done for the Oswald Chronicles. So.
Hey, and who are you going to print with?
I forgot the name of his company, but it's a guy named Aaron. I can send you his info if you want. I think I might have sent you his info. Tim, did you freeze? Did Tim freeze? I don't think I'm frozen.
He looks frozen.
I think Tim froze. Yeah.
Oh, I'm here. Yeah, we're having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues tonight. We've got a storm out here in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
So solar flares.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But so, hey, by the way, I'd like to introduce my next guest, Thanos.
Hi everyone.
Hey, man, it's good to meet you.
Yeah, after the second
Hey,
week.
so we're kind of meeting for the first time. Can you tell us a little bit who you are and where you're from and what you're mostly known for?
So currently I'm in Greece. It's 5 a.m. here, which was my biggest stress getting here. But other than this, I am the co-creator of Loudmouse Crew. We are a group of comic producing creatives out here in Greece and the UK. We are currently we have done 5 campaigns on Kickstarter. Now it's our 6th. We are launching a series called Dreamlands World Walkers. It's a dark fantasy epic about a warrior on his quest to find out what's true. I will just drop the link.
Yeah, shoot it over.
And the greatest thing about the campaign is that it has free shipping. So yeah,
Nice.
get the book, we will send it to you for free, no matter where you are
Nice.
Around the world?
around the world. Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's a pretty gutsy move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
I
take a
mean,
look. Dreamlands World Walkers. Well, congratulations. You hit your goal already.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
So this is the third part of the Dreamland series. You had Dreamland's Lives and Epics Chapter 1, Dreamland's Lives and Epics Chapters 2, 3, and 4, all rolled up in one graphic novel. This one, World Walk, is not exactly a spin-off. It's parallel series that do not include any of the main characters. Because Lives and Epics focused on a specific cast of characters. Now we're moving on. It's you don't need to have read any of the other Dreamland series to have a grasp of what's going on. But this one is also going to be around 104 pages since the latest goal. Yeah. It's gonna be a thick boy, and it will be focusing on just on the dragons, as they are seen in Dreamlands, and you can see them.
this looks good, Thanos.
Thank you.
So, what do you do here? Are you the writer, the artist? What are
I am the writer. The artist is probably in his bed right now, sleeping. Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for coming to visit us at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, don't worry. Thank you for having me. It's
Glad
actually the
to,
second time.
Yeah, it's okay. What I want to do, it's really weird how this is happening, but we're starting to get a lot of action around this podcast. So it looks like it might be expanding to 2 hours, and having a team in each slot is what might potentially happen. Life's full of weird changes. I didn't see that coming either, but here we are. But I appreciate you coming over, and we've been trying to meet up for quite a while.
Yeah. So the thing is, I don't know what your knowledge of the European comic scene is. It's not exactly the most creator friendly, especially if you're if you don't speak French. But for those of us who are trying to make it happen, you have to do around any convention that you get to build an audience, and then you try to do crowdfunding for your projects. So to give you an example, Loudmouse Crew is a creative team that produces roughly 3 graphic novels per year, and we try to not strain our budget, but have like a shoestring budget on how to not die and pay our rent while making comics.
Yeah,
living the dream.
It's important.
Yeah.
Staying alive is a big motivation for me.
Yeah.
It always helps.
So I didn't have this one before. Let's jump over to Mark with So-Called Living. So this looks pretty good too, man. You've already hit your goal. Looks like you just made it. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's it always scares me when I see somebody from the States bring it up, because I'm Canadian. So those numbers are completely different. Like on my screen, our goal is 5,000, and we've reached 5,537. But you convert that to American dollars, and it looks like we just lost $1,500.
Oh, that can be kind of nerve-wracking. So Mark, let me ask you a question. You're involved in the video game industry. Why comics?
Yeah. Comics was always like my first love, and I didn't ever know how to get into anything that I wanted to do. Like I've been into comics. I think I got into comics when I was 13 with Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man Torment story. And that's what got me into the collecting comics, and I was hooked from that point on. So I kind of have a special place in my heart for Spider-Man, but I never thought that was a job that real people got, right? It's like actors. You see actors and you accept that they're actors and they do movies, but those are those people. And that's how I thought about comic books. It's like, yeah, there's writers and artists, but I'm not a writer and artist. I'm another person, you know, I'll get a regular job. But I did get a job in the video game industry because I got into school for 3D animation and illustration, and I still didn't know what to do with that when I graduated, but a friend of mine got a job in London, Ontario, and he was like, hey, they need animators. Do you want to come? And I turned him down twice. And then they were like, we're desperate. Do you want to come? And I was like, all right. So I finally went down. That's how I ended up in the video game industry. But like, I've always loved comics. It's my first love. I've always consistently been into comics.
And we were just talking a couple minutes ago. We're all collectors. What type of things do you collect?
I've recently had to pull back on that, but I've collected a lot of things. Sculptures, like I like a lot of sideshow statues. I have tons of toy lines. Like that wall there, my stairs underneath there, that's filled with boxes of like the original Spawn toys, or just lines of I like when World of Warcraft came with their toys, I got all of them, even the ones that were limited to online, and they're all still their packages. Like I was just addicted to buying. Like I have like a Deadpool there. Some of them I still keep out here, and above them is like I think it was San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. So I think that was the one. I don't remember. So I have the odd one that I keep out, but most of them are like in boxes behind that wall. So eventually I will sell them. But I collect a lot of comics. But I stopped looking for everything I wanted. So when I go to like a con, I'll give myself a mission. I was like, I want to get the first things that I think is reasonable. Like I'm not going to get the first issue of Walking Dead. I'm never going to find an ungraded one that I can afford. So I try to get ungraded comics because I was like, I'd rather just grade it myself. As you know, just eyeball it myself. I have enough experience with comic books. I can find a good one. And once something's CGC'd, it costs like 3 to 4 times more than just raw. So it just makes it more affordable for me. So I try to find it, but I'll give myself missions. Like I want to find the first appearance of the Century, or I want to find the first appearance of Spider-Boy, which is recent. And I just missed it because I was collecting digital for a while. And when I got back into it, I just missed the whole Spider-Boy thing. So that's...
Yeah, I was going to say, while I got Paul here, I meant to ask him this question before, but like, I want to know what the hottest collectible is right now in the stores. In comics, if possible.
Hottest. Oh shoot, you threw me off.
What did you want to say?
Well, no, collectible comics. I mean, as far as what's bringing people into the stores right now, Ultimate Spider-Man for Marvel, the Energon universe for the independents, and DC's killing it with Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And those things are what's bringing people coming in. I mean, as far as what kind of back issue stuff they're looking for, it's Transformers and G.I. Joe have picked up a lot with the new Energon stuff. And I mean, everybody still looks for Miles Morales for Spider-Man stuff. Those tend to always do well. And most of this, standbys always work. Every time I have a Spidey 300, first Venom, it always
mentioned Walking Dead. I was a Walking Dead collector. I got a Walking Dead 1 to 100 run. That's pretty nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'd love that. And
I'm
Invincible is what I want.
JD, are you a collector? I forget.
Yeah, I've been collecting
JD,
I've been collecting forever. I have a huge collection.
What do you collect?
Comics. Well, now it's mostly trade paperbacks, omnibuy, and hardcovers, and that's pretty much all I'm buying. I'm pretty much
JD,
out of
you're a reader.
I'm a reader. Oh, for
Nice.
sure. Yeah, I'm a reader. I read like a lot.
That's what will keep this hobby alive.
Yes, I mean, I'm buying way more than I should every month. Because
do you have a pile of shame?
I have a bookcase
A
Uh,
bookcase of shame.
yeah, well, I have a bookcase. Well, it's my reading pile. It's literally the stuff I have to get to.
Yes.
But yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's just like I've considered stopping buying just to reread my entire collection because I'm figuring it would probably take me 4 or 5 years just to reread it. Because it's huge. You know,
If you
it's
were to
got
break up your collection in bins, like full length bins, how many bins would you say your collection fills?
Oh well, at one point, I lost a bunch of stuff to floods, but at one point I had probably about 40 long boxes of comics. And I mean, I was collecting since I was about 8. I had the entire Walter Simonson run on Thor. I had the first 4 or 5 issues signed by him. I had, you name it, I probably had it. From that period, I probably had it. I still have my entire Daredevil run by Frank Miller. I still have the entire John Byrne run by Fantastic Four, Alpha Flight. A lot of the early Avengers stuff. The Secret Wars, all that stuff, all the stuff I walk around convention. I'm like, oh, how that book is $80? Come on, you know, it's like seeing what is that? New Mutants '97. I remember that book used to be
98.
98. Yeah, I mean that. I remember that book in 50-cent boxes.
Yep, they were in $1.50 bins for years. Yes.
Years. Yeah, you know, it's just like what. You know, I sold my Spider-Man 300 years. I divested. I got rid of a bunch of it, like probably about 20 long boxes worth of stuff. But
Oh wow!
What I did was I pivoted to collections. So whatever I have, as you know, whatever I can get an omnibus, I got, and because I like them better because I can pull them off the shelf and read them. You know, whereas I don't have to go ruffling through boxes. The only thing I really kept is my indies. You know, like I still have my Miracle Man run. So
I find omnibuses and compendiums large and bulky and hard to read. Like I'm not going to lay in bed and read that thing because it's so heavy.
If you drop it,
you have to be on a table to lay it down, and maybe then you can read it. But it's not usually how I like to sit and read.
Yeah, not user friendly.
Heavy.
No, what's funny is I do read in bed, and my right arm it gets a workout. It gets a workout.
I'm not taking that one.
How are comics in Greece?
Yeah, let's move over to Thanos. Thanos, first of all, are you a collector at all?
I do have a knack of tracking down Hellboy volumes and trade paperbacks. I know that you cannot find the issues anymore. So well, simply put, the Greek situation doesn't really allow you to afford the, let's say, the collecting comics. So I have to opt out for volumes and collected editions.
Yeah, I'm a Hellboy fan.
Yeah.
So
I do have a huge pile of shame. I keep adding it day by day. I have specific series that I'm looking out for to try and collect. Hellboy being one of them. The other one is Oko, if you know it. Is by Hub. It's a French. He's a French guy that made a samurai comic, and it has amazing. It's like a French European comic album, but it has great action, amazing coloring, and really intense world building. It's this, if you know it.
It sounds pretty good.
I have a question for Thanos, Tim. So one of our customers is from South Africa, so he brought me a Spawn book that he had that he wanted to get Neil Gaiman to sign because it was a South African edition of that book. So do you have the same thing in Greece with that? Do you have certain editions of books that are only available there because they print them there? Because I guess with South Africa, they had like certain religious things that, like books like Batman, anything dark, anything counter-religious
Yeah.
was not like Spawn. Those Spawn books, there's not too many of them that made it there, and so like there's not very many of them.
Yeah, great question. So at the moment, no. I think there must have been a time, because I'm 28. I was born in 1995. I think there must have definitely been a time in the early 2000s that there was a problem with Christianity here being
Okay.
too strict, because there have been two cases of a comic book being brought to court on blasphemy charges. I mean,
Wow.
I don't
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't think anything happened. Actually, I have let me just, I have the one here. A friend gave it to me. So
While you're doing that, I'll give a quick shout out. We're taking a look at Dreamlands.
Yeah.
This is Thanos' book. It looks pretty cool. They've already reached their goal, so this book's going to come out. Let's see if we can pick up some backers. Dreamlands World Walkers, 100 pages. It's got a little heft to it. It's a good size.
Thank you. It's a thick boy. So yeah, it's if you like, so for Dreamlands, if you like God of War, Neil Gaiman, and something like Berserk, the manga, I think the book is for you. It has,
man, that's a bold statement. I love all those things. This sounds like a great book, man. So how long did it take you to put this book together, Thanos? How long did it take to make it?
Yeah, so I need like five minutes to explain the whole storyline behind this one, because because you asked me what is Loudmouth Crew, and I will give you an example. So Loudmouth Crew is me and my partner working together for 3 years now, trying to make it into comics, and we have been working together for this time. But the thing is that we have a clear, let's say, job description. I do story development and dialogue and the script, and Stelios, the artist and co-creator, does the art, the cover art, the illustration, the lettering and everything else. But the way we have been doing, because we have been working for some years now, so I usually finish the script, I give it to him, and then he starts illustrating it. I think he has reached like his peak level workflow at the moment, that he does 2 or 3 pages per day because everything is in black and white. He can it helps accelerate the workflow of his.
I understand.
Yeah, but the thing is that so it's September, and he tells me September 2023, and he tells me, oh, well, we are on our way to, I think it's a convention in Greece, and he tells me, look, I have this idea. It has been stuck in my head. It's called World Walkers. It has like this, it focuses on a specific cast of characters, and I want you to write it. And I'm like, okay, guess I will put it in my other pile of shame, the one with the works that I will be doing. But the thing is, and I will get to it. He says, no, we can't do it this way. I tell him why. He tells me, well, I have started. I'm like 10 pages in, 10 or 15 pages in, scriptless. I'm like, why are you doing this? Because I have it stewing in my brain for like 6 months, and if I don't get it out, I cannot move on to the next story. And so we had to like reinvent the formula that we worked together. So I tossed the original script writing way that I follow, and I started doing one where I don't write him pages and panels, I write him sequences. So sequence 1, TikTok, the main character, that's his name, speaks with his generals. Sequence 2, they move. Sequence 3. So he had a clear idea of what everyone was doing, how they looked. But at the same time, it was much easier. He didn't need the very specific description. So
I have a question about what you said. Yeah. So you don't write them in panels; you write them in sequences. Did you say?
Yeah. For this one, yeah. Traditionally, usually it's I write page one, panel one, panel two, but that's the good thing for having someone, for having worked with someone for over 3 years. We know
Yeah.
we have a report on how we want to structure the page. So Dreamland's World of Works, I would say 104 pages, 5 months with some breaks for conventions and having
That's
to
pretty.
do some other things. Yeah,
That's a pretty good turn rate on 100 and some pages.
yeah.
Mm.
Right now we will be we cranked out 30 pages in like 15 days.
Wow. Color pages?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Sorry, that's why Dreamlands is so. I don't want to say cheap. I will say affordable. That's why
Affordable.
Dreamlands.
Yeah.
Good word.
Economical. Sure, I got you.
No,
But it
because
looks great, man.
yeah. So just to go to complete the other question, this one is called "The Life of Jesus" in Greek by Gerald Harder.
Tell you what, do that
And
one more time. Ready? There you go, buddy.
yeah, ego. I mean, it's in Greek, so yeah. It was one of the books that went to court. That they sent the publisher to court for presenting it in Greece.
And what is it like sacrilegious?
Yeah, so apparently there's like this very specific law that says you cannot insult Christian icons and iconography.
Well, in Greece, that's serious business, right?
Mm.
I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I can see some people bringing up to court, but I don't think anything happened.
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that's a little cultural difference. In America, you can throw rocks at Greece.
yeah. Just,
Boy, if you do something defaming the Christians, you'll get on the front page of every paper in America. Hey, so let's take a look at so-called living again while he's taking a little break there. I'll see if I can add to stage. So-called living. Boy, this looks really great. How long did this take to make?
The comic book or the Kickstarter page?
Tell us both.
Well, this is the first Kickstarter I've ran, so this is the first Kickstarter I've had to create. So I did a lot of research into how to make this page. So I spent a lot of time, and I didn't race through anything. So I had like placeholders. So between me figuring out how I want to do this layout, and you notice there's like this bunny motif behind everything. It's like everything's framed in like this bunny motif.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like I wanted to do something different. So I looked at Kickstarters that were run by comics, and I looked at Kickstarters that were run by board games. And frankly, I like the way most of the board game ones looked more so than the comic book ones. The comic book ones look like they were not all of them. There's obviously exceptions to every rule, but the comic book ones, a lot of them that was a lot of square boxes, a lot of text, and I found it interesting because it's so many creative people doing this, but it's a very straightforward, like, here's the picture of my book, here's a bunch of pictures, and everything's in grids and everything's very square. But then you go to the comic book section, the board game section of Kickstarter, and then people are doing like fancy borders and bold letters and trying to get your attention with all this artwork that they have, and they're doing rotating gifs of like their minis. So I was like, well, I want something that kind of uses, I want to take that board game aspect of like making how they make their Kickstarter pages, but tie that into comic books, because I want to do a comic book. So I looked at both of them. And also another idea that I took from board games was I have 5 tiers, where a lot of the comic books I looked at, like some of even the very successful ones that, comic books that made like 60,000, 80,000, whatever. Some of them have like 18, 22 tiers.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty.
And I was
of that,
like,
man.
holy crap. Like,
JD, he's calling you out, buddy.
So like for me, like I see those were successful. And I was wondering, like, for me, I find it intimidating. So like it's a lot for me.
The first thing, you did something smart. I see you got like a little bit of a naughty tier, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's a smart move on Kickstarter.
that exactly, that was another thing I looked into. So I did a lot of research, and as far as like again offering a lot of tiers, I get that a lot of people understand it because clearly those projects fund well. But I just try to dumb it down for me, and but I also was looking like some projects. Again, I didn't look at everything. I looked at a lot of them. If you did have like 18 tiers, you'd have like 0 backers, 2 backers, 1 backer, 2 backer, but then there'd be like the first 3 at the top that are like 60 backers, 80 backers, 140 backers. So I was like, well, I want to focus on this. Like I want my tiers to be the 60 backers, 80 backers, 40 backers, and kind of anything that I might add on that would be like a 0 or a 1 backer, have that as an add-on, or just not do it at all for my first one, because I'm freaked out enough about doing my first Kickstarter. I don't want to make it overly complicated for myself because I don't know what's coming after this.
Hey,
So,
man, Mark,
I
I
don't
got to
want.
tell you that you did a good job on your first one, because
Oh, thank
this,
you.
are you in graphic design?
No, but I've been a creative director for the video game industry, as well as like I do game design, but I've been a creative director and art director for the video game industry for a long time. So I don't do graphic design specifically, but a lot of what I do is try to make things that look presentable for the user. So in this case, the user is the reader or the user of the site. So I just try to make things that look appealing to the person interacting with whatever I'm making.
It definitely has the look of a professional design. It's slick. I like the framing on it. This is the Kickstarter page I'm talking about now. You know, really any kind of we go on these shows all the time, and the tips always say to have a naughty tier, man. I think you got something that'll be successful.
I put on a badge on that says, because like I have nothing against sexy, naughty content. Like I like sex just as much as the next person. I like sexy things. So, but when I was doing my research and I was looking at what's the top selling stuff, there's so much of it is TNA, you know, and I was like, there's nothing sexy about my book at all. Like if I did this research before I even wrote my book, I might have changed my direction.
Wait, so there's no sexy content inside
In it? No, inside it there's not.
JD, let's have JD chime in here. What do you get? I noticed you want to say something here.
What? Oh, well, see, well, first of all, the reason I just wanted to go to this thing about the reason it's all a lot of square grids type of things on these Kickstarters on the comic side is most of those Kickstarters are put together by the writers, not by artists.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, writers, we're stuck in boxes. It's just our lives, right? So just to get that out of the way. I mean, as far as sexy stuff, you know, I mean, listen, I wrote La Blue Girl back in the day, so you know, I don't have any problems with that stuff. So
well,
you wrote
got
Blue
to
Girl?
see Michael Lanning. Your girls got some bodacious
oh yeah. This was the one, because look, normally I write the Oswald Chronicles, and that's just, you know, straight YA stuff, you know. But the thing is, though, is I worked so hard and so long on Oswald, I spend so much time on it. What happens is I have to take a moment and do something kind of grimy. So I have to do something.
What do you mean by
well,
that?
Something that's a little bit more hardcore, you know, more violence, sex, you know, somebody getting chopped up. I mean, it's just one of those things, because I go from wholesome and I just have to.
Is Magi's Grace sexual content?
No. Right. Here, hard R from the 70s.
Okay, what gives it the hard R?
Boobs, butts, you know, on occasion, that sort of thing.
What's the language like?
Oh, and some swearing and cussing, and what is it? And we have some heavy violence.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
that's a kind of a broad phrase. Can you tell me what kind of violence?
You know,
guns.
Yeah, guns, people getting chopped up, or more like monsters getting chopped up, is that sort of thing.
Oh, and you got a little bit of you got.
Oh
Some,
no, we do have some sexy covers on there. Yeah, like this particular cover. If you scroll back, just
Okay,
go back
so
for a second.
JD, look, as you guys maybe know, I follow the Oswald Chronicles. It's a little
Right.
bit in the best way, like a Watership Down. If you guys are
Mhm.
Watership Down fans, you will love the Oswald
Mm.
Chronicles. Did I just learn that JD is now a violent pornographer? You guys tell me.
Oh yeah, I've been, dude. Hold on. Look, this. I wrote this years ago. This was I wrote this professionally. This was my first professional.
I didn't know any of this. This is
Yeah.
a total surprise to me.
Yeah. I wrote this. This was for Central Park Media. This was in the 90s. But that led me into doing Tenchi Muyu. I did Extra 3.
Yeah.
I did.
You do a lot of
Demon
different
Beast Invasion.
styles.
So,
different styles.
Yeah.
too.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, that's why a lot of people they start talking, and they start talking about how they're afraid to deal with that stuff, and I'm just like, it's just writing. All you have to do is focus on is write a good story. It doesn't matter if they're sexy.
Yeah.
You understand? It's just write a good story. Bill Willingham, the guy who did Fables. Wrote Ironwood. Okay, he did 12 issues of Ironwood, which is completely porn.
Adult. Yeah,
it happens. Adam Hughes, Bart Sears.
Let's ask Thanos.
Guys.
I didn't ask him his. Thanos, what's your age level and what's the adult content for your book?
European level or American level?
Both, I guess, because I really am interested.
So there is
is there nudity in it?
No, it doesn't have any nudity. There will be violence in it. Like there are people fighting, and it does have this sort of like epic, like people in armor clashing with one another, trying to kill each other off. No, but there is no nudity in it.
Yeah, it's Americans are fine with violence, but they have like a weird hang up about nudity, kind of.
Yeah, so long as everyone is clothed, they seem to be like a really thin line as to what is considered nudity and what's not.
Yeah,
but I agree with JD because it all boils down to the story. If you can create a good enough story, a compelling enough story, it doesn't matter if you have anything, gory or sexual in it, because I am also writing something that's a little bit spicy, if I may say.
In what way? Sexual?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems to be that seems to be the theme of the evening.
Seems to be the theme of the internet.
Yeah, it kind of does. And by the way, I say that it's something that we've talked about many times. It's in most cases a shrewd move on Kickstarter.
If you actually look at the sexy covers I put out, they say there's a badge on them that says obligatory sex pod edition, and it's kind of like tongue in cheek saying like, yeah, you need to have it if you want a successful comic book on Kickstarter. You need to have a sexy cover. So like those girls on the cover are based on girls that are in the book, but they're not sexy in the book. They're just very plain Jane looking girls. But I always compared it to like if you go to like a Comic-Con and you see sexy Mario and Luigi or sexy SpongeBob, that's what it's like. So I just took those girls and I cosplayed them up to make them like sexy covers, and I put the obligatory sex pod edition in. But I am inspired by actually, JD. I saw your comic. I noticed your when I was looking through Kickstarter. So as soon as you brought it up, I recognized it. It's so it works because there's so many comments, but I did notice yours.
Thank you.
So like I appreciate the fact that it works. So like I'm working on a project. Like I just came up with it. I started playing with the idea yesterday of doing like just an art book of like sexy ladies, and I've just started concepting an idea now. I actually shared the link to Timothy. I don't know if he wants to show it, but it's just a line work. There's no nudity yet. Well, technically she doesn't have any clothes on her, but she doesn't have most of her body drawn on her yet either. But it's just a concept I was working on. There you go. So I was just kind of filling out the lines, and that's just what I was able to take a quick screenshot of now. Didn't have anything ready to share. But yeah, that's something I was working on. I was inspired by all the sexiness happening on Kickstarter. I was like, I'll try that. I'd like to try to jump in that pool. So
Listen, it doesn't hurt.
no, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't
No,
hurt.
not at
Hey,
all.
sex sells, man. It's kind of almost doing yourself a disservice if you don't
Yeah.
include some kind of level.
Well, I look at it like this. I mean, it's like I said, with this particular story, Magi's Grace, I was just having fun. I wanted to work with C. Michael Lanning. You know,
Right,
he
right.
had some free time, and I wanted to work with him. I said, look, let's do something goofy. Let's do something fun. So we came up with this. So that's what we did.
Which,
then-
by the
but
way,
then I
Mark,
had-
that's how we kind of know each other. See, Michael is Nita's husband,
Yes.
right? And you know, Mark and I met through Nita, I believe, correct?
Yes.
I think that's how we know each other.
Mhm. Yeah, and then the Oswald Chronicles, it's my magical mouse story. So it's like, it's I'm like,
I was
Yeah.
pulling your chain, JD, but
Oh, okay.
it is. I wasn't aware that you had sort of.
oh, the sordid past. Yes.
I wasn't aware of your sordid past. Yes, your disgusting, reprehensible past.
Hey, I have
Let
LeBlue
me
Girl
tell
in
you,
my
I had a
DVD
lot of-
collection.
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that stuff. So, so I mean, you got to see, here's the thing. When I was about 26, 27 is when I got the gig. And I had a choice. I could either go get a regular job or I could write La Blue Girl. So I chose to write La Blue Girl. Right. So, and I had a pretty decent living for about 2.5 years, and then
Whatever keeps the lights on, man.
exactly, and I just
Paul, what's your thoughts
chose-
on? Do you guys do any kind of adult material in AA comics?
Special order.
Special order.
Usually special order. I think as far as we stretch it would probably be the Zenoscope titles.
Yeah.
We've had
Mm,
Zenoscope
yeah.
in a few times, but they don't really push it that far.
And they now ship with like it's like a little paper cover, like a paper wrapping, so you don't see the nudity.
No, they don't. Well, to get any of their Z covers, their nude covers, you have to get those direct through them. That's not anything they usually do through the stores.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually through them, through either Kickstarter or their own. They sort of have a Zenoscope subscription thing that's direct through them.
Is there
Generally, most of our stuff is like if we have any of the adult content, it will usually be mostly special order. If something comes across with a cover like that, I have black bags to kind of cover it so we don't have it in there. We have a lot of kids that come through here. I still want to be family friendly and
Sure.
stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't want parents or grandparents bringing the kids in and feeling a little uncomfortable because something's up. But yeah.
Right.
What's
makes
funny is that one of the popular things that I've heard of, popular theories that I've heard, is that one of the reasons this sort of thing is taken off on Kickstarter is that you would have guys who are interested in these types of books, and they'd have to come in late at night into the comic shop, ask for the special box that's behind the counter, and they would pick out their cherry pop tarts or whatever it is they were interested in.
Yeah. You got to go behind the little red curtain or whatever.
Right. And, but through Kickstarter, they could order these books and, they get them delivered to their house. So there it is. So there's none of that, none of that has to be, they don't have to go through that effort of like, going through all that stuff and, and there's not that awkward whatever that goes on with it. But like I said, I mean, I got a bunch of sexy covers here. This is actually a second chance campaign because we already did one successfully. And I was just like, I got a couple of new covers, one from C. Michael Lanning, one from my buddy Matt Lunsford. And, we were just like, all right, let's launch it again. And then I think third quarter this year, we'll be releasing the second issue.
How many issues are in this? Is it an ongoing series?
It's going to be 4 issues, and then we'll see how this does, and then we'll probably continue because I've already written it. Because what happens is I've already written 2 stories, and if we continue it, it'll be as a comic book. If we don't continue it, I may just format it into a novel. So I could work it either way.
No kidding. And you got some prismatic foils. You got some good selections here.
Yeah, we have prismatic foil, virgin covers, slew of various artists. Lena Dye. This is Narcelio Souza. I mean, there's just
How many total covers?
9, 10,
JD,
not including
wow.
not including the variants, which is like 3 each. So it's like too many. You know, keeping track of it was a pain in the butt. You know, especially when I was fulfilling. It's just like, who gets what? You know,
JD,
it's
did
one of
you
those
hear?
situations.
I tried to get the last panel talking about this. Did you hear that Comics Wellspring, the printer, is under new ownership?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, how about that? I thought that would be more of a story than it is. Nobody seemed to mention it. I brought it up in the groups and nobody knew.
Well, I mean, the question is it under better management, right? Is it going to improve things, or
We'll be talking
things
about that on the next. We'll talk about that on the next show because I'm
Right,
waiting. I'm waiting on a proof right now that's at 3 weeks today.
right? Because yeah, they've been having serious delays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's really the issue.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of these prints. Premium A4 300 gam. Oh wow,
Yes, sir.
those look lovely, don't they? Nice colors.
Yep.
So go ahead,
sorry.
tell us what we're seeing.
So all of these are characters from inside the book. You have dragons, the doves, and of course the giants or gremlins. That they're all coming together.
This gives me a real Lord of the Rings kind of feel.
Mm,
You know what I
can
mean?
see.
It has like sort of the sweeping designs and the landscape and everything, dragons.
Yeah, I can. Can I share something with you from one of the pages?
Yeah, sure. Drop me a link.
Give me a second. Make sure.
Oh, there it is. It mentions Lord of the Rings right there.
Yep. I mean, it is a major influence for all world building people, isn't it?
Pretty good influence, man.
Mm.
I forgot to mention we had a guy in the last panel. He's a toy dealer. He runs a vintage toy shop. And one of the things when I met the guy, he's got these tattoos, and they're all like the Tree of Gondor. There's like Elvish writing. He's like super Lord of the Rings dude. So right away, I started getting along with that cat because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
No, we were having this discussion a couple of days back. How if you would ever invest in like some really serious, like leather bound, golden page foiled editions, that would be Lord of the Rings. Like it should be it should be in your library as a great edition, so you can always go back at it.
Yeah.
One time a year, 2 times a year, and last for you, your children.
I wanted to say I like your design here, buddy. This is a cool one.
Thank you. The thing about Dreamlands is that it has its own mythology. It has its own lore, depending on each race. So, and that's what we've been doing since the first issue. We have been, at the end of the book, you have a small, you have a map of the world and short stories. And as the books grow, the map also you can attach the map from Dreamland 2 to the one from chapter 1, and you can just like expand. So you have a much clearer image of the world of Dreamlands, and the same will be with this one, because you have like this. We want to give the experience of a world, not just of a story that you read it, flip through, when you're done. So you have this lore, you have folklore of Dreamlands. We actually have a soundtrack on YouTube for the comic book.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love soundtracks, by the way. It's we're songwriters over here too. I release the songs. Do you guys record them too, or do you like hire somebody to record them?
So my flatmate for like 3 years, he was a composer, and we had like this: I give you comics, you give me music; I give you comics, you give me music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Hey, we better
Mm.
stay in touch after the show. Let's swap some links. I got some soundtracks too.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I'd love to hear your music, Thanos.
Actually, let me just send you.
So let's circle back around. We got time for one more circle. So we're going to start out with So-Called Living, Mark's book. Man, I
All right.
wish you every success with this project.
Thank you.
For those of us tuning in tonight, please go over and check it out live on Kickstarter right now. This looks like a fun project, and you really you got the Project We Love badge, and you really put some time into this quality design. I think it looks terrific.
Thank you. And if anybody's interested in the story, because like I want to give people a taste of the world and the characters and my writing style, book one you can read for free on Global Comics. Just search
great
So-Called
idea.
Living. There's actually
idea.
a link on the page.
Yeah, I saw that. That's actually a really good idea.
So yeah, I just wanted people, because I understand, as an indie comic book writer and new, like nobody knows me, nobody knows my characters or my world, so I was like, read the first one free. And I know the question's going to come up, like, why should I pay for two if you're giving me the first one free? It was like, I'm giving you half of my Kickstarter free to try out, because it's like in good faith. I'm giving you half, and I hope if you like it, then you can help me fund this project so I could do the next two, and then I could do the next two, and then do the next two. And I'd like to leave issue one there for free forever for people to discover. They can just find it, and then
I
hopefully
have a
come
question,
back.
sorry, if I may.
Mhm.
Because I opened the link to. Sorry for cutting. How do you do the setting that you go from panel to panel? Because I was reading it. I have already gone through the first so-called living issue, and I really love it. And I was really captivated by how it moves from panel to panel to panel. Not, you don't see the whole page on your screen.
Yeah, there's actually a setting, and because when I first had it up, it was just page after page after page. But there's something I can't remember. It was an easy thing to do. I clicked a button, and then it prompts you to do guided view. So all you do is you go in and you draw boxes around. That's it. They have they make it super easy. We just like drag a window, and there's points you drag. And if you want one, because I have one panel where there's a head kind of like being thrown over some guy's shoulder and it comes out of the panel, but you can do like drop a bunch of vertices, so it's like dot 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 around the head, so it'll light up that awkward shape. It's super easy. I can't remember because I haven't done it in years. I've had that book up there since sometime last year, because I was going to launch this last year, but the only time I could launch it was November, and I heard, based on my research, November was a bad time to launch on Kickstarter, so I didn't, and I just waited till March. But yeah, that was the guided view was just an option I stumbled across once I uploaded it. So I had it uploaded, and for a while I just finished doing the last like 2-3 pages, because for a while I was doing it on my phone, because it's a simple enough, like I did it all on my cell phone, except for the last 3 pages I sat down and I got like this prompt when you log in, and it says, hey, you still have 3 pages that don't have a guided view. So I was like, I'm just gonna do that now, because they're all square. So it was like square or rectangles, like rectangle, 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 done. So it's super simple. It's comics. Global Comics just has it built into their system.
Nice. So this is going to be our final word here. So go check out So-Called Living. And Mark, if you could tell the viewers, where's the best place to find you?
Well, So-Called Living is best place to find me. Look at Board Game Coffee anywhere.
Sure.
Like YouTube, Instagram. YouTube and Instagram are the main ones. Twitter and Facebook are secondary, and So-Called Living is mainly on Instagram, but I've just started that channel, so there's not much there, but I plan on growing it.
Nice. Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
No, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. I like being in groups and people and listening to their stories.
Yeah. I think your project has legs, man. You got a lot of things that are correctly done, and let's stay in touch with each other.
Yeah, sure, by all means.
So Paul, man, always a pleasure to see you. The one thing for you guys, if you didn't know, I've got my buddy Paul from AA Comics, and he actually walks the walk as far as supporting the indie creators. One of my favorite stores to go into. Paul, tell us where we can find you.
We're in downtown Lebanon, Pennsylvania, near Hershey, 610 Cumberland Street, right in the heart of the city.
Nice.
Nice.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming on the show, Paul.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Magi's Grace, my buddy, JD Calderon. A little bit of a change for him. Let's see if we can get some supporters over there. This one, have you hit it yet? Oh, you got a $500 goal. You're already there. This book's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Go over right now and buy one, people.
Mhm. And if you're on the fence, there's a review that was done of the book. So if you scroll down, there's a link. You could click on it. It'll, and I didn't even pay the guy. It was great.
Yeah, you got a good review from in the comments too for Oswald. Said it was one of the best of the books he read this year. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, this is Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that's a nice compliment. Best of luck with Magi's Grace. It's a Lovecraftian horror fantasy. Viewers, go check that out right now. Call to action. While you're there, while you're on Kickstarter, take a look at this one. This is Thanos' book, Dreamlands World Walkers. He's already hit his goal. I think, man, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, this might be a match for you.
Actually, sorry. Fun fact. One first, if you see the banner, once they just showed me the banner, I was like, "Isn't it that? Doesn't it remind you of something?" He's like, "What? What do you mean?" And I'm like, big fiery orb, right in the middle, something like an eye. I don't want to say the name, but perhaps Lord of the Rings. He's like, no, it's not that. And I'm like, okay, if you're not saying it, you created it, so I won't offer any objections. But yeah,
Man, of all the
JD, I
things,
just backed you.
one of my favorite things of all time.
yeah.
Well, guys,
I just backed you, JD, by the way.
I sure wish everybody the best of luck with their projects. And it was great. Thanks for coming to the first Creator Hangout. We're going to make it almost to midnight, so we got just a minute or two to jump off. To the viewers, I hope you'll come next week. Got a new series of creators coming on to talk about the things they're making. Other than that, see you guys next week.
See you soon. Hey.